Well, I thought I would do a video on music, artificial intelligence, and SF, which has become a kind of a big issue here recently. So I would just like to start with some of my old albums and some of the science fiction that I've read. And I will begin with the one of my oldest records, which is Paul Revere and the Raiders, Just Like Me. And I believe this one was copyrighted in late 1965 or early 1966. I have this Jimi Hendrix from 1966. As you can see, it is pretty well worn out. So in 2013, I replaced that copy with a newer one. They did a great job with these newer editions. They're on thicker vinyl and they play really well. In 1970, I had purchased this Grand Funk Railroad album. This is actually the second album that I had purchased of. This is a 2-record set. And the first one that I had taken to school for an event, and that got stolen. So then we had this one, and as you can see, it is in pretty bad shape from 1970. I've played these records a zillion times each. So in what year was it? 2016, they had a re-release and another great rendering here. The manufacturer did a really good job on this, and it plays on my turntable in stereo very well. And this is my original 1971, as I recall, Alice Cooper Killer. And Alice Cooper did a great job with this album, and his Dunaway Boys and everybody. The mistake that I think that they made was they would put all of their great ideas and inventiveness, and they would play them all. With each song, they would have 4 or 5 new riffs and all kinds of stuff, and put them all in one song. They could have tripled or quadrupled their output if they had saved their new ideas and created a new song with each one. At least that's my opinion. There's my new version in great shape, and again, the new manufacturing techniques have really paid off for these. This record, this album sounds great. This one is from 2012. Oh, my Black Sabbath Paranoid album cover was just completely destroyed over the years, which I purchased in 1971 or possibly 1972, but I believe it was 1971. And this one is a 2016 copy. Same thing from my Dark Side of the Moon. It's hard to keep stuff for 50 years, and we had 3 children, a lot of nieces and nephews, and things happen. This one was originally I purchased from a friend of mine who actually called me down to his house in early 1973, and he said, "Man, Joe, you've got to hear this album." So I went to his house and listened to it, and of course I purchased a copy right away. This one is from 2016. So what does all this have to do with SF? Older SF has practical concepts relative to many issues, including artificial intelligence. I did not have that much interest in music when I was 8 years old or anything like that. I did start reading science fiction just before I turned 9, and I had a great interest in that. But My elder brother by 2 years had a strong interest in rock music by early 1962 or so, which was the year I was 8. And I benefited from that quite a bit. Of course, we had been hearing 1950s and 60s rock and roll for years on the radio. By 1962 or 63, he was bringing home Roy Orbison, Chuck Berry, the Beatles, the Yardbirds, then the Rolling Stones, the Guess Who, Paul Revere and the Raiders, Jimi Hendrix, and a lot more. He was learning how to play his Fender Strat clone, then acquiring a real Stratocaster by the late 1960s, and he was taking lessons all along. And by 1970, he could play lead guitar like a pro. And he played in many local bands for the next 50 years, and I enjoyed going and watching my brother play his music a lot. And he just did that for fun. He and his band, he was in the Vietnam Veterans Band for many years, probably 20 years, and they kind of broke up and would get back together and call themselves different names and all this stuff. But they just played locally and had a good time. The first rock concert that I went to was with my brother at the local county fair, summer 1966. As we were buying tickets at the gate, we could hear Paul Revere and the Raiders start playing Steppin Out. And boy, we took off in there, and the music was incredible, and the Raiders played all of their early hits from 1965 through mid-1966, which I always felt was their best. And from then on, there were so many local bands playing at school events and everywhere else. I did not start attending name brand rock concerts until almost 18. So at that time, one of the first big name bands I went and saw, and I saw a lot, starting in 1971, 1972, was Deep Purple. And Deep Purple was playing at the local venue near where I live, which was pretty big, and they had a stage. And this was before all of the laws and rules keeping people back from the stage. So the stage for me was about shoulder high, and we were watching Deep Purple play, and Gillan announced they were going to play their music at the highest decibel limit the human ear can discern, and they certainly did. Ian Pace had a box of drumsticks on his left and right. And after they'd been playing for a while, there were dozens, maybe hundreds of drumsticks laying around on the stage, and I was leaning right up against the stage. I could see 20 or 30 of them right in front of me. So I pointed to the drumsticks and waved at him and pointed to the drumsticks, and he looked at me and nodded his head, sure, go ahead. And so I jumped up there, and I got about 20 or 30 drumsticks, well, maybe even 40. This is the only one I have left. At that concert, I gave them to all the guys who had gone to the concert with me, and I have kept this since December 1972. So I really enjoyed the rock concerts, and I still do. I go every summer. The local venue this year, which is very close and is a big name, pulls in lots of big names for years. All of the older bands are not playing anymore, and there just hasn't been many new bands coming along, and we're going to discuss that. So what does all this have to do with SF? A lot, I think. According to Google's AI, the first music festival was the Pythian Games in ancient Greece in 582 BC. We have a long history of people writing and playing live music. The music that the people write is just great. There's nothing like a good live music experience, called a crowd mentality, a group mind, a good time. I don't know. Lloyd Biggle Jr. has a theory on that, which I'll read here shortly. And Just a few SF short stories to illustrate how SF has long been on top of the AI issues. We'll start with Answer by Frederick Brown, copyright 1954, in this great War with the Robots anthology by Isaac Asimov, Patricia S. Warwick, and Martin H. Greenberg. Let's see, I think this was first published in 1983. Yes, mine is the 1991 edition by Wings Books. And in here, and I've lost my bookmark, I'll have to see what page it's on, is Answer by Frederick Brown, copyright 1954. And it's on page 473. And I will just read a little bit of the story for you guys. It is, the whole story is only one page, really. Here it is. And all of these people have created a new supercomputer, and it is the supposedly the largest supercomputer in the universe, and it is the combination of 96 planets in a super circuit that would connect them all into one super machine. So there are two guys who are working on it here. One is named Dwar Rain, and Dwar Rain spoke briefly to the watching and listening trillions. Then, after a moment's silence, he said, "Now, Dwar-Ev." Dwar-Ev threw the switch. There was a mighty hum. The surge of power from 96 billion planets. Lights flashed and quieted along the miles-long panel. Dwar-Ev stepped back and drew a deep breath. "The honor of asking the first question is yours, Dwar Rain." "Thank you," said Dwar Rain. "It shall be a question which no single cybernetics machine has been able to answer." He turned to face the machine. "Is there a God?" The mighty voice answered without hesitation, without the clicking of a single relay. "Yes. Now there is a God." So that's a pretty interesting take by Frederick Brown, clear back 70 years ago. The next one I would like to take a look at is With Folded Hands by Jack Williamson, first published Astounding, February 1948. And it's in my the Humanoids book, which includes all of this. Can't really tell the copyright date on this. It says 1948, 1949, 1980. So the book had to have been published in 1980, I guess. It doesn't really make that clear. But here we are with Folded Hands. And there's a discussion here of this gentleman's daughter who had dreamed of being a great musician. "Father, I'm not going to play the violin anymore." "Why, darling?" He stared at her, shocked, and saw the bitter resolve on her face. "You've been doing so well, especially since the humanoids took over your lessons." "They're the trouble, Father." Her voice for a child sounded strangely tired and old. "They are too good. No matter how long and hard I try, I could never be as good as they are. It isn't any use. Don't you understand? It just isn't any use." So that's an interesting take from quite some time ago as well. Here we have the Toonsmith in Lloyd Biggles' great collection, The Metallic Muse. And that is copyright if August 1957, and it is included by Lloyd Biggle's collection here. And I think Lloyd Biggle has been vastly underrated for decades. So this is about a guy named Erlen Bach. And Erlen has been a long-time musician and writer of music. And the world has become a changed place. And what's happened is everything is written for and done for commercials on TV, and musicians don't really play before crowds anymore. So here, Bach has talked them into letting him play before a bunch of people who are financing the commercials and the advertisements, and he's written some music for them, which he has now played live for them. So there's a guy named Denton who is involved in financing all this, and they have an analysis of what has happened with the people who actually heard the music live. It is established, he said, that those in this room were powerfully affected by the music. Those listening on the on the intercom experienced no reaction except a mild boredom. I didn't call you in here to state the obvious, Denton snapped. How does he do it? We can only offer a working hypothesis. So you're guessing. Let's have it. Erlen Bach has the ability to telepathically project his emotional experience. When the projection is subtly reinforced by his multi-chord playing, those in his immediate presence share that experience intensely. The projection has no effect upon those listening to his music at a distance. And Visiscope, televised I guess, he could not project his emotions by way of Visiscope. So this is Lloyd Biggle Jr.'s take on this, and I believe Lloyd was a musician in his professional life. So, at any rate, music has changed dramatically since the late 1990s. And it would certainly appear to me to be due to human greed and laziness, not AI malevolence. Auto-tune plus autocorrect, AI-enhanced singing and playing, computers and synthesizers replacing human studio musicians, and now people using AI for writing and breaking the basic copyright rules for government-allowed AI development. Now, this is what I've been hearing on YouTube from a lot of different people. The AI development, everybody wants to be involved in that and head toward dominance in AI. They are allowing the AI, people using AI, to use other people's copyrighted materials, and it's up to the people who own the copyrights to discover this and tell them to stop. And if they don't discover it and tell them to stop, then their music and stuff is just being used by everybody. I think this is a disaster, and why there are a few new rock bands over the last 15 years or so. Now, this predates AI. Auto-tune and autocorrect algorithms do predate AI by about 25 years. And I think this is bad, and so do many music experts, which I am not. But I can hear the current music, and it does not sound right to me. So at any rate, there are many people discussing this in a lot of different arenas. I have been listening to Phil on his Wings of Pegasus site for years now. He's been talking about this. And he does have, I highly recommend him at any rate. He has thoughtful and informed analysis, and I will include a link to Phil. And I'll also include a link to Rick Beato from here in the United States, who has more excellent and experienced analysis of this issue. And I have a link there that you can listen to him. And they both have multiple videos on this topic. Phil has an update. Apparently in the UK, they are starting to feel that this is theft, essentially, of copyrighted material. And they have their national government really looking into it. And you can see, I include a link to his discussion of that, which was just about 2 weeks ago. So at any rate, I would like everybody, if you have an interest in music, and I don't know exactly what happens at a real live concert where the band is really into playing their music and they're doing a great job and they're gelling and the band is tight and everybody is just playing. But I kind of think it whether you call it a group mind or mob reaction or whatever, something definitely happens, and I really enjoy it. And again, science fiction has been confronting this for a long time, and I hope everybody takes a look at this issue and learns something about what's going on. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.